So welcome. This is the Office of Indian Education Distance Learning Series. Today we are going to be focusing on virtual assessments. Can you folks all see my screen? I hope you can. Oh, here comes somebody else. Okay, so here's our disclaimer. Let's play that.
This presentation was produced under U.S. Department of Education contract number GS00F115CA with Synergy Enterprises, Inc. The views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the positions or policies of the U.S. Department of Education. No official endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any product, commodity, service, or enterprise mentioned herein is intended or should be inferred.
Aloha, my name is Olani Lily. I am with the OIE Technical Assistance Team. I'm going to be facilitating this training today. Also on this Zoom meeting are Sarah Whitehead and Tracy. They're going to be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, go ahead. You can put it in the chat and they'll try to answer it. If not, they'll pitch it to me when I start taking questions and take a breather. If you could also, if you have Kahoot, maybe on your phone or computer, you might want to get that open because we're going to play a Kahoot game later on. Oops, hold on one second. I got my chat won't go away. Okay, there we go. Um, so today we're going to be considering how to assess students virtually in a variety of ways. We're going to explore tools that help to facilitate assessment, as well as identify ways to incorporate online assessment tools. Um, so what I usually like to do, if you've been to any of my trainings, is to first look at ancestral stories or look for models. And so what I did was I looked at stories that included assessment models, and I looked at my own people's stories. So I wanted to share this story with you that has embedded in it an assessment story. So this story, and it's actually a true story, is about Keku Haupio. He was a well-known teacher who instructed chief or ali'i, such as Kamehameha, in the art of war. Of course, Keku Haupio was taught by his own teacher, Koi'a. Um, his teacher taught Keiko Haupio various war strategies, combat, and leadership skills. After a series of training, Keiko Haupio's teacher realized that he was ready for the next level of training. But before he did that, he wanted to conduct an assessment that would ensure that Keiko Haupio was prepared to fight the most vicious combatant in warfare. And so, in order to develop his assessment, he gave Keku Haupio the task of wrestling and killing a niuhi or a tiger shark. As part of this assessment, Keku Haupio was instructed to prepare bundles of rancid pig and then gather a paddling a crew to go out in a canoe. He then fashioned rope and tied these bundles to the back of the canoe and instructed the paddlers to paddle out into the deep ocean. On board as well was his teacher. After going out into the ocean, the bundles of flesh began to excrete oil, leaving a trail in the water, which soon attracted a tiger shark. The tiger shark kept gulping at the oil, both taking in the oil as well as the salt water. Keiko Haupio was very anxious to jump in and start the fight, but his instructor told him to wait and to observe the shark and the shark's behavior. Then Keiko Haupio instructed the crew to stop paddling, to raise the sail, and to allow the wind to blow the canoe back and forth in the sea, which then again led the trail of oil with the shark behind it, continuing to gulp at both the oil and the water. Of course, after taking on a lot of water, the shark began to swim slower and began to become a little bit more sluggish in his swimming. And Keiko Halpio and his teacher both decided that now was the time to jump in the water. And so Keiko Halpio jumped in the water, wrestled the shark, and eventually stabbed the shark, killing the shark. And then Keiko Halpio was tied the shark to the canoe, and they sailed back into shore. Upon reaching the shore, Keiko Halpio and his men transferred the shark to what we call a halau, or like a school classroom setting. Um, and there, along with all the protocols, they divided up and parceled out the shark's body for different purposes. And of course, like many native people, nothing was gone to waste. The teeth were used for both war implements as well as sort of utility implements. The skin were used for drums. The flesh was used to eat and to feed. And then one of the pieces, the eye, was preserved because after they had dealt with the actual shark's body, there was a ceremony. And this ceremony sort of culminated the entire assessment and brought together experts, other warriors, as well as the community. And it was in that ceremony that Keku Hapio was ate the eye of the shark in order to take on all of the characteristics of the shark. This ceremony thereby confirmed Keku Hapio's successful completion of his assessment, and he could then move on to the next level of training. What this story shows are some assessment considerations as it relates to a native form of assessment. Of course, this was performance based. It was an assessment that required the learner to use the skills learned in a real, to deal with a real and authentic problem. Additionally, this assessment was challenging and yet it was connected to an outcome. And so the his training was to be able to deal with the most vicious combatant on land in warfare. And so the shark is again a vicious combatant, and so it matched what the actual expectations were. Also, preparation was a part of the assessment. Keiko Halpio had to prepare the bundles of rancid pig flesh, had to prepare the canoe, select the crew, prepare the rope, attach the bundles to the back of the canoe, poke holes in them so that the oil could be expelled into the water. Additionally, the story shows us that the student was set up for success. And so he just didn't go into the water and wrestle, an active, hungry shark. What the bundles were used in order to make a more even playing field with the shark, and as well as set him up for success. And then the assessment was connected to the environment, place, practice, and protocol. So Keiko Hopio was born and raised in a community or an area called Ke'e, which is on the coast of Kona. And so the practices of Ke'e are very much connected to the ocean. And so it makes sense that Keiko Hopio, in looking at this type of assessment, would have it be connected to the ocean. There are other stories in my culture that have other assessments connected to the volcano or to the forest that are, again, where the place where the learner is familiar with. And so, again, everything was set up for success. So I just want to take a pause. And now that I've shared your story, I'd love for you to think about one of your native stories, and particularly when it comes to assessment, and maybe share in the chat an assessment strategy or practice that's revealed through that story. So I'm going to go and check out the chat so I can see um, anything that you'll be sharing. We also have stories of Pele and Hi'iaka, her sister. And that whole story is about Hi'iaka going through different assessments and as well, while in the meantime, gathering different empowerment and powers along the way. So I guess everybody's thinking. um, I'm going to move on, but in a little bit, I'm going to check back to see if any of you have shared any assessment strategies that are embedded in your stories. Now we use all different ranges or names of assessments. And so there is the diagnostic assessment. This is an assessment that usually happens at the beginning of learning. It could happen at the beginning of a year, at the beginning of a program activity. For example, if you're teaching a language, it could happen at the beginning of a unit. And it's really used to gauge a learner's pre-knowledge. Additionally, there are formative assessments. Those are assessments that usually occur in the middle of learning or program activities to determine how learners are progressing. And so, let's say I've been doing an activity and maybe 2 months in, I want to create an assessment to sort of see if if students are moving forward in achieving I guess, the learning outcome at the end. There are interim assessments that are given across an entire school or district in order to compare results of different groups of learners. Now, you may not be in a school or district, you might be doing an after school program. Let's say you have a language program and you maybe have three beginning classes. You might want to create an assessment that all three classes would take in order to compare the results between those three classes. That would be considered an interim assessment. There are benchmark assessments that would be used to measure the progress of large groups of learners. So if you're in a school and maybe you have multiple fifth grade classes, you would again do an assessment and measure the progress of those large groups. It could also be done for language classes happening maybe in the evening or after school hours. And then there's the summative assessment. So usually when we think of summative assessments, we think of these large statewide required assessments. But a summative assessment can also be at the end of a particular like learning point. So it could be at end of a unit, maybe again at the end of the year or a quarter. It could be if I am teaching weaving, the summative assessment may be being able to create a tapestry, and that would be considered again a summative assessment. So those are the different types of assessments. Today, we're going to be looking at three tools. They're very different, and so I'm not going to do sort of chart that's compares and contrasts, but we're going to look at the different features of each of these tools. Um, in the past, a lot of the training I've been providing has been really focused on the classroom. And so my examples are going to be, this time are going to be used on more cultural based activities or language activities, and can we use assessment and these assessment tools. So we're going to be looking at all of the free versions of Kahoot, Flipgrid, and Formative.com. Okay, so I'm Oleni, and I am going to be right now. I'm providing after school sessions for language, Hawaiian language, and I'm going to be utilizing lauhala weaving as a way, a cultural practice, as a way to introduce new vocabulary. And I want to use Kahoot to conduct a diagnostic assessment. So Kahoot provides, it's both a website and an app. It's really game based and very interactive in real time. Learners can ask questions. Learners are asked questions on their personal, oh, sorry, answer questions on their own personal devices, computer, laptop, or even an iPad or a tablet. They can play individually or in teams. As the instructor, I can insert images and YouTube videos into the questions. It's really used to assess student performance. And I can also assign a Kahoot as a homework. So for my language class, I want to go ahead and create a diagnostic Kahoot to understand what are my language skills of my students starting off. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So I'm hoping you can see my Kahoot screen. You can go in, and Kahoot again has free accounts. You can go in and log in. Once you create your account, you can come to groups here, and you can go ahead and add your students. I created a cohort one. Again, I can invite members here, and that's how you would connect your students into Kahoot, one of the ways. Okay. It has a library of resources that you can look at. But what I want to do right now is I want to go ahead and create a Kahoot. So let's go and create our Kahoot. Now, as you can see, I have different options. In the free version, you can tell what is available to you by looking. Anything with these little crown circles here are for the paid version. But for the free version, I can do a new Kahoot. I can access a template with slides, so I can actually instruct um, through Kahoot. I can also create a formative assessment. Now, because I'm doing my native language and a cultural practice, I don't think that there aren't any actual assessments that I can just sort of copy and paste. But I could look in this formative assessment to get ideas about types of questions or how I want to organize. But for right now, I want to just go ahead and create my own. So I'm going to press create right here, which leads me to my first question. So let's go ahead and create our first question. Um, Again, I want to know the basic understanding my students have of both the practice and the use of correct vocabulary. So I can add a picture from my drive. And as that's coming in, the next step I want to do is go ahead and add in my options for answers. So I would normally put this in Hawaiian, but because we don't all speak Hawaiian, I'm going to put it in English. A coconut tree, a plumeria tree, hala tree, and pau. Now, the next thing I need to do is select the correct answer. And the way I can do that is by going to this circle, clicking on, and that then shows me what the correct answer is. I can also do a little customization on this. I can come on this side and select the time limit that a student has to answer the question. Again, because this is a diagnostic assessment, I want these to know that these terms are the students have it. And so I'm going to not go 4 minutes. I'm going to stick with the 20 seconds. I can look at the points that I want to attribute to each question. I can go standard. I can double the points. But again, because I'm not going to be grading this and this is just a diagnostic and I want to understand what their prior learning is, I'm going to select no points. Okay, now I want to go ahead and add another kind of question. Again, I get this menu. I can see what's available in the free version. I have only the quiz, like the previous question I've done, or true and false. So I'm going to go ahead and select true and false. So the name of this section of the leaf is velau. Okay. Again, I'm testing their vocabulary use. I'm going to add a picture of the actual section of the leaf I'm talking about. Load that, and then I'm going to select the correct answer. That would actually be true. Okay. Once I'm done with that, I need a period here. Let's get that uploaded image coming. Once I'm finished with this, again, I can go and customize my time limit and my points. I'm going to make this no points here. I could go ahead and add more questions, but I think I'm finished for now. And so I'm going to come up here and press done. I'm going to name this and provide a description. And press continue. So right now, Kahoot is validating this. Kahoot has this awesome tool called Test This Kahoot. So let's go in and test this Kahoot. I really like this because it shows both what the instructor sees, which is this big screen, as well as this little telephone on the side that shows what the students would see. A lot of times with these tools, you create something, but you don't get to really see what it looks like on the other side. Okay. So when I am prior to sending out the Kahoot, I have some options. I can do personalized learning, which means that they really get to practice. But again, this is a diagnostic assessment, so I don't want to use that. I have my friendly name generator, which is really helpful in work when working with students to make sure they're not putting and creating inappropriate nicknames, because that'll show up on my screen. I can make it fun by selecting different lobby music, which plays while all the students are waiting to get on. I don't need to randomize the order of the questions or the answers. And I also, because I'm sending it out to my class, don't need to have an advanced sort of permission to join the Kahoot. I come back up here. I'm going to select classic because my students are learning at home. And so they are on their own devices in their own home. So I would want to do classic. If I had students working on shared devices, then I could pick a team mode. So I'm going to press classic. And right now, Kahoot is generating a game pin number. Okay, so here's my number. So now I'm going to go over and be a student in the phone and input this number for the game. I don't know if you can hear, but my music is playing. And then I press enter. This is the nickname selection, again, allowing students to pick appropriate nicknames. Oh, I like Diligent Gecko. Let's go with that. So as the instructor, I again see this screen and see when students are coming in and when all of my students are in. Then I can go ahead and start the game by pressing start. Again, this is a really great tool because I can see both what the instructor's view is as well as what the student view is. Here's my first question. Again, you can see both views and the timer running. So I'm going to say select coconut. I don't know why that's not selecting. Okay, I got it wrong. So again, this is what the student sees, and this is the big screen is what the instructor sees. So the student again sees what's in the phone and the instructor is on the big screen. I want to move to the next question. So I come up here and press the button that says next. Again, I get to see what students are scoring. So both students got 0. The name of this section of the Lao is called Velao. That is true. Oh, okay. Again, I see what the student sees is that there's correct, and what the instructor sees is that 2 students got it correct. I'm going to move on to the next. Thank you for participating. Okay, awesome. So let's go. That sort of really helps you see and test out what your Kahoot is before it actually goes out to students. I'm going to leave this and go back to the class. I can also go to play now, click here. Again, I can send to teach that will allow us to engage in the Kahoot like in real time. But we're not going to do that right now. So now let's go to get out of here and let's go to a Kahoot that I've actually created already and had a student take. So created a do now. It has 5 different questions around vocabulary and identifying the plant. I've had a student take it. So now we would, if I want to look at the scores and use this diagnostic to help my instruction, I would come up to reports. Also in this, before I go to reports, you can also, again, come to play here, or I can also edit the do now further. So let's go up to reports up here at our top of our screen. I click on reports and I want to come here and open up this do now report, which takes me to a dashboard that I can see. Additionally, when the students have an account, they'll get to see a dashboard of their own assessments, but I can see the entire class. So I can see just sort of at a snapshot about how many questions were difficult for students and sort of where they are, which will help me again be able to see where I need to start with my instruction. I can also click on this and play this again. Now I can look at my players, my students, and see how they scored. And then I can go to questions and look at students and how they scored on the individual questions. So I see that maybe, like three of them they got wrong. And so two of them were correct. And so I think I am going to again start at the basic level and I'm not going to sort of move higher in my vocabulary. Okay, so that is Kahoot. Let's come, let's get back to the presentation. The next tool we're going to be looking at is Flipgrid. Flipgrid, again, is we're looking at the free version. It's a website and an app, a platform for creating video discussions. And so it's both, it creates both, students can upload video and I can use video to both provide instruction as well as feedback. And other students can provide feedback versus on via the video as well. As an instructor, I create the prompt and learners respond with a video. They can record up as many videos as they want. And learners, if I allow, can apply to other learners' video responses if activated. Instructors can vary the video response time. Okay, so let's go. I've created a diagnostic. I've had a couple months of working with students. And so I want to create a Flipgrid formative assessment. And so let's go ahead and get to Flipgrid. I'm hoping everyone can see my Flipgrid screen. So let's, again, you log in, create a free account. It's very easy to do. I can create groups here and a class in order to invite and share this group with my students so that they can all have access to it. But for right now, I want to go ahead and create this assessment. So we can go into create topic. So I'm going to ask students, so I'm going to, here's the title of this assessment. And my prompt is to please create a video that uses, or that shows how to use Valhalla with correct okay, so that is, I'm asking students to create a video. Again, I can put in more instruction and more detail. With this prompt, I can also have a wide range of attachments. So I can record a video. Again, this is really good, recording this video. If I was teaching this class and I was in immersion setting, I would provide all of the written instruction in Hawaiian language. And then because I would know that maybe some of my students would be going home and asking their families for help, I might actually provide a translation through a recorded video. I could also upload a video that maybe I recorded on my phone and transferred to my desktop. Maybe I created a YouTube channel, or I want to look at maybe there is a practitioner who created a Lauhala video that I want to add to the instruction. There are different ways I can connect to Microsoft and download documents, or Google. I can also even connect to Kahoot to provide a game in this actual uh, Flipgrid. I can come down here and I can add students who will be receiving this. Okay. In essentials, I can moderate. I definitely want to moderate the topic. So I want to be able to see videos and be notified of when videos come in. This is where I can put in my recording time. And so I want to give, let's say, I want to do 5 minutes, give them some time. As you can see, you can go up to 10 minutes in the free version. I want to be able to provide video and text comments for other students. Again, when you are asking students to provide feedback, you want to make sure that you're instructing them on the appropriate types of feedback. I also want to look at more options. And when I click on more options, I get the option of being able to attach a link or a document. Here, I could maybe attach a list of vocabulary words that I want to make sure that they are using in their video. I can select this as an active topic. And because they're going out into the environment, I probably want to give them a range of days that this video or this lesson will actually be, or this assessment, sorry, would actually be live. And so, and that's both to upload as well as to comment on student videos. And so I have a range. I do want it to end, so I'm not going to go on to never. So they have between Monday, and let's say I'll give them the weekend. And so on the 29th, all of the work related to this assessment needs to be completed. I can receive daily notifications of when videos are being submitted. And I can also allow students to receive email notification. This video editing, I allow video to students to trim and delete, rearrange their clips, view count. They can also do sticky notes if they want. Right now, I don't really want to get, because this is an assessment, I don't really want to get into likes, but they can provide, again, constructive feedback. And I also don't want them to share, so I'm going to turn that off. When we get down to feedback, I can choose a basic feedback, which gives me these two areas to look at, or I can create a custom feedback. Again, because I am looking at language, I have created my own rubric. And so I have the accuracy of information, accuracy of language, organization of the video, and vocabulary usage. So if you want to create a criteria, you can come down to the bottom and select Add Create. And you can go ahead and create your own criteria. So I'm going to do, I know I already have it, but I'm going to do vocabulary usage, appropriate, oh, oh, appropriate use of vocab. Okay, of course, I probably would want to provide a little bit more. And I'm going to give points 1, not through 100, but maybe let's do 4 is my scale. And then I can go ahead and create. Okay, and so now I have created my Flipgrid. Let's go ahead and look at one that I've already created. So I have Lauhala preparation here. Okay, I've had a student that has actually submitted a response. So let's go and look at that response.
No.
So here I see an actual video that was uploaded by a student. I have, what I can do is I can add public comment here again, because this is public. and provide some constructive feedback. Also, as the instructor, I can go in, I'm gonna put this on pause, and click on feedback right below the video. And I can create a video feedback, which I've already done, and as well as look at the grading rubric. So information, accuracy of information, I gave the student 2 because they were preparing the lauhala correctly. Accuracy of language, well, she wasn't really speaking, and so I'm going to give her a 1. Organization, I thought was a 3. Vocabulary usage, I'm going to give her a 0 because she wasn't talking. Additionally, I can go ahead and put in a written feedback. Now here is my video feedback. Great weaving, Ruth. Next time, use a vocabulary. Please resubmit. Okay, so that is sort of the the feedback that you can provide to an actual student's video that they submitted. Okay, so that is Flipgrid. Are there any questions?
Nothing in the chat right now.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so moving on to Formative. So Formative, again, is a free web-based assessment tool. The learner can sign in. They can use their Google or create an account on formative.com. The instructor is able to create multiple choice, show your answer, short answer, essay, and true and false types of questions. Let's see, images, videos, and PDF can be used. Oh, sorry, what happened? Okay. Correct answers can be revealed to the students, and results and reports can be downloaded. So let's go ahead and create our assessment utilizing Formative. Now, I want to use Formative as a summative assessment. And so I've gone through my language classes. Our students are going to be doing a performance-based assessment, and they're going to actually create what we call a pale, or a protection, almost like a mat for an ipuheke or a hula instrument. And so that's going to be their performative summative assessment. But I want to do something a little bit more traditional around their vocabulary and their understanding of different terms. And so I go ahead and create, again, a formative account. I can come up to classes and create a class where I am adding students. I can add students this way, or even send them a code. Okay. So I've done that. I've created my class, and now I'm going to go and look at creating an assessment. I've already created one, so we're going to take a look at that. So this is where I would go in and create. Now at the top here, I can, above my question, I get to select the type of question I want to use. So I can use essay, multiple choice, multiple selection, short answer, show your work, or true or false. I selected multiple selection, which allows the student and asks the student to select all of the correct answers. So there might be more than just one correct answer. So I go ahead and type in my question. I type in my options for the answers, and then I check the boxes that are the correct answers. All right. If I wanted to create a short answer, I would go ahead and, again, collect short answer, type in my question, and then I have the ability to, this little key sign pops up. And this is where I would put in all of the different things I would be looking for in different terms in their short answer. And then also I can create a true or false. A true or false question, again, I create the question and I select true or false. Additionally, if you are doing math or maybe even science, you could select a show your work question. So let's look at that. So this screen pops up and it gives me the options of the different types of content I can add. as well as a different type of question. So if I go to show your work, this is what it looks like. And so maybe I'm going to solve this problem. Oops. And the student can then edit the background and use this to show their answer. Okay, oops, shucks. Sorry about that. Okay, so now I want to go to see how my students have actually done. So I come back. Sorry, I want to assign this. So I can go ahead and assign it to the classes that I want to send it to. But I've actually already assigned it, and I want to look at the responses. So this is the dashboard where I can look at where my students are on this assessment. I can click here and see the total. So I would have the list of students. This 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the different questions. And so I can go ahead and look at a student. I can look across the board like this, or I can look at each individual question and see how students were doing. So name the different parts of the kumuhala. I can see that they didn't do so hot on that. I can go to the second question. Again, this is the short answer. If I click here, these would be the answers I would be looking for their responses to have in them. And then the third question, the true or false, oh, I can say they did well in that. Additionally, I can go ahead and export this to either a spreadsheet, or maybe if I'm doing Google Classroom, I can do a Google Sheet. As you can see, on the free version, you really only have 4 free exports. But that's usually how free versions go. Okay, so that is formative. Very simple tools to use in order to create a wide range of assessments. So let's take our second cause for our pause. And as we think about these 3 tools that I just shared, let's think about how Kaua'a would maybe use these tools in assessing Keku Haupio's skill, as well as think about your own ancestral assessment practice that you may have thought of at the beginning, at the first cause for a pause. And do you think any of these tools would be useful? And if so, which one and how? If you could go ahead and share that in the chat. I know that I'm thinking that Keiko Haupio would probably want to use Flipgrid because he could document both his preparation for the actual assessment, as well as maybe beyond just having his instructor and the canoe paddlers on, he'd want to have somebody to videotape him wrestling the shark and then bringing it into shore. He would probably not want to film the more ceremonial parts, but then afterwards, he might be able to, Koia, his instructor, might be able to sit down with him and review the performance assessment as sort of like, you know, how football players look at the game tape after the game to look at like areas in which they can improve, or you know, maybe getting to understand the shark better and their practices. So that might be, Flipgrid might be the great tool for Kamehameha to use. Let's see if any of you have shared in the chat how you might want to use any of these tools in assessing your cultural practices. So as you folks are putting that in, we're going to move on to see, we've created this distance learning Padlet. There should be someone putting a link to this Padlet up in the chat. This Padlet has all of our distance learning sessions in here. It's a great place to let us know if you want to go a little bit deeper into the assessment area or any other topic. Maybe there's a particular thing that we didn't cover that you want to make sure we cover in the future. Also, maybe maybe you've created a Flipgrid or formative.com that you want to share and you think it's really great, and it had a lot of success with students. This Padlet could be a place where you could share that. Okay, are there any questions regarding maybe the Padlet? Sorry, the Padlet or any of the tools? No? Okay, great. So we're moving on. So I hope you found this beneficial. There'll be a survey popping up right now um, to take a short 2-question end of session poll that'll let us know if this was beneficial or not. Additionally, we will be sharing in the chat a survey link. That helps, takes maybe a little bit longer and will help us understand more about how we can make these trainings more reflective and relative to your needs. If you wouldn't mind taking that survey, that'd be great. I think I saw it just pop up in the chat. Additionally, here are some events that are coming up. We have 2 more virtual events popping up or coming up. A small group engagement happening April 6th, as well as virtual field trips, distance learning on April 27th. And we have a talking circle for NAW on March 25th, OIE office hours on March 25th again, as well as, don't forget, we have the project directors meeting. All of your project directors should be receiving their invite, should have received it already. So you want to make sure that they log in. For each grant that your organization has, you are allowed to invite and have 3 participants in the project directors meeting. There's some really great topics and we're going to be getting more in depth into a whole set of different topics. So I really want to encourage you to join. The discretionary, here are your contact information for your program contacts, as well as if you have any more questions or concerns that maybe you can't think of now, but pop up as you're using any of these tools, you could go ahead and email the OIE Technical Assistance Team right here at oie@seiservices.com. You want to make sure that when you are emailing that you include your PR number. That is the number that starts with the letter S. Make sure that you put that in the subject so that we know which particular grant you are inquiring about. Again, thank you for your time. I hope it was time well spent. Enjoy and have a wonderful day. Thank you. Aloha.